might as well get into the weekend that was, and we'll obviously start with the big one that was this Saturday of Worlds Collide and Money in the Bank. The double show. First off, I just thought overall the way it was presented was done very well, with being on YouTube for the pre-show and then for Worlds Collide, and then it was smart to have the Money in the Bank pre-show on YouTube as well. But the entire time, like, get over to Peacock or Netflix in the internationally, get over to Peacock. I thought it was done very well and worked out smoothly, at least for anybody that I talked to about it. But I think it was also a very big surprise for how successful Worlds Collide was. I mean, I knew it was going to be a fun and exciting show, but I didn't expect to see as many people watching it. George will give you the numbers. He's got them there for how many, just the YouTube watches alone, but also the positivity that we saw, not only on social media, but even on our spaces on Sunday. Not only this, but we had Pro Wrestling Counselor and 3 or 4 other people jumped in on Sunday, and everybody was putting not only it over, but the big star of the Worlds Collide show, Mr. Iguana.
I was never sure if that was a real iguana at first, and I'm like, okay, it's an actual fake one.
Yeah, honestly,
I wasn't sure. I'm not gonna.
Yeah, I assumed it was, but I knew nothing about this guy. I had seen his name before and like the little few clips they'd showed on WWE television, but this is one of those things where this is kind of the fun of Lucha Libre. It's more of a, I don't want to say cartoon, but more of like an over-the-top show presentation and stuff like this. And this guy's a big part of it. I'm not sure if anybody got more over this weekend than Mr. Iguana. Apparently his was the highest selling t-shirt of the Worlds Collide weekend. And I think I think some of the things have already been sold out on WWEshop.com. So good for this guy, man. I feel like he's the combination of Goldust and Santino, but in the best ways, at least from what we saw. Granted, it was only the one match, but I got super over.
Yeah, this was interesting to me.
Yeah, I mean,
very interesting.
The whole thing was, I thought it was presented as well as it could be for Lucha Libre television or Lucha Libre on WWE television. It wasn't treated as lesser than, it wasn't made into a joke, but they were able to do the Lucha fun stuff, but have mostly very good matches. There wasn't, one of the downfalls of Luchas. There is a lot of botches sometimes, or people, as I always talk about, they try to do the difficulty of 9 or 10 with an execution of 6 or 7. I feel like Saturday was a lot closer to like, hey, it's a difficulty of 8 and I got an execution of, 7 or 8. And so they were nailing most of it, and also having the WWE experienced talent being able to kind of work with them, which was something that you brought up on Spaces that we'll get into as we get into the main event of it. But I thought it was done very well, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. I was going into it wanting to have a good time, but they made it easy to have a good time. And then the fan reactions and interactions and the live watch-alongs during the show, or during Worlds Collide, it seemed like everybody enjoyed it.
Yeah, you knew my attitude going into it. I wasn't going to watch it at all.
Yeah, no, I mean, we talked about it going into the preview show that we did.
Yeah.
That I was happy that we did. It was kind of a good thing but it wasn't something that we previewed more of Money in the Bank than we did Worlds Collide, because I really only knew like the main NXT storylines of it. But I thought it was done very well. It made everybody look good, at least from all ends of it that I saw. We had the fun moment where I don't feel like it was Stephanie Vaquer's swan song with NXT and AAA. I thought that was done very well for her. She got to go out on a high note. Also kind of gave the rub to Lola Vice as kind of like, she's the next, Latina star, maybe. I'm not sure exactly how that worked, but it seemed very cool to me of how it was done. And as we were talking off air before we got on, Lola Vice is the real deal, man. People got to remember she comes from the world of MMA. So not only is she a looker, but if you look too hard, she might kick your ass.
Yeah, the 2 women in this match they went against were unbelievably great.
I'm glad you brought that up. I was gonna set you up for that, because we talked about it on Spaces as well, about how well they both looked and how professional it came across. And those 2 really got to shine. I know it was Chick Tormenta, and I don't know if it's Dalys or Dalys.
Dalys.
All right, there we go. They were very impressive. Now, a lot of that, I'm sure, is being able, they'd worked with Stephanie before, and I'm sure Stephanie was kind of like the ring general of that one, but it was a great match. It was
those
enjoyable.
2 women were the ring general of that match. You could tell.
Yeah, I
kind of the one's 40 and the other one's 50.
Right, I was gonna say, yeah, and neither of them looked it. And athletically, I thought it was fantastic. So again, more putting people over well and showing them, presenting them in the best light, giving them the best chance to show their strength. People were talking, the negative IWC trolls that wanted to dislike this, that were talking about how it was going to be, they were going to bury the AAA talent, make them look silly and squash them and look dumb. And it was the furthest thing from that. It wasn't really about who won and who lost. In most of the matches, they were able to put on a great performance and a good show.
The only thing I noticed was the only problem the AAA talent had was with the ring and the ropes. Like the ring was, I think the ring's a little bigger in WWE and the ropes are different too. So they were having some problems, but they made
the ropes for sure, because I know, most companies use their, what is it, the jet to the airline cables or whatever, and WWE doesn't. But I don't know about the ring size. I haven't watched enough.
Different. It's different.
Yeah, we're not talking like, Australian Grand Slam 14 by 14 rings, but I'm sure, I don't even think it's the 16. I think it's probably like the 18 by 18, but I know WWE does the 20 by 20. And I felt like that was also too, where they were able to have the right people in place with like the Legato guys and the LWO gang, of being able, and even why Lindsay Dorado was kind of brought in, because he's kind of more in a training role, in a coaching position now in his career. He's still working some, but he's kind of transitioning in there. So you have him in there to be able to make sure that if there is anything that goes wrong, they're able to pull it off and make it work. So I definitely enjoyed that part of it. Ethan Page, I thought, also made a great showing for himself actually everybody really in the North American title match made a great showing for themselves. Especially, as we've said before, Javon Evans, he looked great in it. He didn't look like he was out of step at all with the luchadors or in lucha style, but clearly with his athleticism, it wasn't going to be an issue. I just thought that, I didn't think it could have happened with his psychology. He might not have had issues with it, but he seemed to fit right in. And
he must have made friends with people too.
I think he definitely did. He's one of those people that he just seems like he's just so charismatic, like he's just like, you just can't not like him. And to that point, he was at the end of the main event. They put Vikingo on the shoulders after having an amazing match with Chad Gable. You look at all the talent out there, but look over to the right. Look at the one guy there. That's Javon Evans is out there. I just feel like he seems to get along with everybody. I don't see how anybody could not like that kid. I mean, he's confident in himself, but he's not too cocky. He's a great talent. He's clearly willing to learn. He's ready to learn and grow. And I think that kid's got a great future, but that was definitely cool to see. With the Vikingo and Gable match, that was, as we've said, like there was a reason Gable was in that match. There was a reason that Chad Gable was the opponent, because Vikingo sometimes needs people to slow him down, kind of let him, make sure you breathe. It'll be okay. But I thought it was a good match. I thought it was fun.
Gable did the best he could, but Vikingo's, I'm not being critical. I'm just saying Vikingo's full of zip, and I'm assuming he's still a young dude.
Oh, for sure.
But he's just not careless either. What's the word?
I don't think it's careless. I think
it's not.
It's too fast. He's just working too fast, which happens a lot with folks. You hear, it's one of the top things you hear from the older guys or the territory wrestlers or even coaches nowadays, of that, hey, slow it down, take a breath, let things settle. I mean, that's, sometimes people criticize my criticism of AEW because I say they don't sell, and people like, oh, he's hobbling on his leg. But I'm like, people, they don't let anything breathe. Like if a move's pulled off, then they're going to get up and do another one and then another one, as where, pull off one, maybe two, and then let the crowd settle, let them digest what happened and enjoy it and get into it, as opposed to just spam. And that was why when WWE bought AAA and Vikingo was kind of being heavily featured, I was excited to at least see what he would do in this world, because I feel like in what we saw of him in AEW and even TNA, he was kind of just let him do whatever he wants, do his big moves. And unfortunately, that's going to end with a lot of botches. So I thought Gable did very well with him, as we've seen. There's a reason why Gable is in the position that he's in and why he was Penta's first opponent when Penta debuted. It makes a lot of sense. It makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, you're going to find out what they think of Vikingo pretty quick. They got a rematch scheduled against Del Rio already. So,
oh, do they? I didn't know that. All right. Okay. That makes a lot of sense. Okay. Good to know. That makes a lot of sense. You're going to
find out what they think pretty fast.
Right? Yeah. No, that is kind of like right there in front of I'm hoping, and it seems that he's done well for himself, and then I'm assuming that he's putting work into the PC where he can, and they're giving him the best chance to succeed. So best of luck to him. I hope he kills it. I really do. I really do.